What's up from New York City? This Airbnb host went from $0 to $213,000 in 1 year on Airbnb. And I'm going to share with you how he was able to do that. My mentee Dominic joined my mentorship program in January 2024. He had 18 properties. You heard that right, 18 properties on Section 8. He was explaining to me how, the Section 8 program works. I'm not very familiar with that space. And he told me a lot of the clients who rent from him through the government don't really take very good care of his property. He decided that as his contracts ended with the government, he was going to turn a few of his properties into short-term rental homes. The issue is he didn't know how to do that because his background is Section 8, right? So as soon as these leases ended, he had 5 properties when he joined my program. So he furnished them and he listed them on Airbnb. He also joined a previous mentor, a large influencer with 260,000 followers. And the influencer was not really able to give him the results that he wanted. And it's not because of lack of knowledge, but a lot of these influencers who have so many followers, they're not able to help people one-on-one. They're not able to help them because there's too many people. If you have 1,000 people in your program, how in the world are you supposed to help these people? So Dominic joined my program. He wasn't making very much with his 5 properties. By the end of 2024, he sent me a message on December 31st. He said he made $179,000 or something like that on Airbnb, and I was totally blown away. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. But then a few weeks later, he said, Martine, I actually made $213,000 because I didn't calculate Vrbo. And I was like, oh my God, I was totally blown away with 179, but 213, that's even more amazing. So I'm gonna share with you what we did, what we were able to do for Dominic so that he can make $213,000 with 5 properties that he rehabbed in Charlotte, North Carolina, that his mentor, his previous mentor, was not able to do for him. I'm going to share with you the tools, the AI tools, the automation tools. It's mainly 3 tools, and why you need these tools if you are an Airbnb host, how it's important in the role that each tool plays in your business. So if you are an Airbnb host and you're struggling, you're not doing well, I want to share with you the main tools that we used for Dominic to get these numbers. So first of all, Dominic has 5 properties. If you have 5 properties, you got to make sure that you use what's called a property management software. If you only have 1 or 2 properties, you do not need a property management software. You can literally list your property on Airbnb, and if you're going to list on other platforms, you use the iCal calendar and you plug in the iCal calendar in the calendar of each platform. This way you don't need like a whole PMS because it costs about $60, $70 a month. So if you're not bringing in that money, it makes no sense for you to do that for 2 properties. But since Dominic came to me with 5 properties, he was already using a PMS called Guesty for hosts that his previous mentor, has suggested for him to use. So that was great. So he had a PMS. The PMS is a centralized place where you list all your properties so that you don't have overbooking, so that everything is in one central place, so that you can communicate with your guests, so you can also connect other tools like dynamic pricing. It's the central part of your business. So the second thing I did, so because Dominic had already done somebody else's program, I had to troubleshoot. When you come to me brand new, I just help you from scratch. But because he was already in somebody's program and he'd get the results that he wanted, so I had to troubleshoot step by step. So I said, do you have a PMS? He said, yes, I have a PMS as Guesty. Okay, good, that's done. So the next step I said is, Dominic, how many platforms did your mentor list your properties on? And he said, well, this guy is only all about Airbnb. He doesn't talk about no other platforms. And I was like, so he didn't suggest you other platforms to list your property? He said, no, just Airbnb. So in hospitality, this is a fatal error. right? So if you work for a hotel, let's say you work in the sales and marketing team of a hotel, those are the people who are in charge of making money for hotels, and you list the hotel, which is what your Airbnb is, on one platform, a singular platform, you would get fired. So I'm not here to badmouth his mentor, but his mentor listed his properties only on one platform. So obviously that was a problem. So I said, Dominic, we have to do a little bit of market research. Charlotte, as you know, is, the headquarters of banks. There's a lot of banks headquartered in Charlotte. What does that mean? There's a lot of business travelers coming to Charlotte. What else does that mean? That Charlotte is a domestic market. There's not a lot of foreign travelers going there. So New York City, right, is the international market. We have a lot of people coming from outside the country. But in Charlotte, it's mainly Americans who are visiting. Every now and then you'll have a foreigner, but for the most part, the bulk of visitors in Charlotte are coming from the States. So it's very important for you to know that, because based on that information, you're gonna know where to list your property. I know that Vrbo and Expedia are going to bring him business, because Vrbo and Expedia targets domestic travelers in the United States. So I said, Dominic, we need to list your property on Vrbo, Expedia, but you know what? Let's just list it on Booking.com also. Booking.com is mainly if you have international travelers, like if you're in Miami or New York City or Orlando, but I said it doesn't hurt. So we went ahead and we listed it on his properties on Vrbo, and he listed a few on Expedia, because Expedia is a little clunky. Expedia is for hotels. I said, I'm going to show you the little backdoor trip on how to get onto Expedia by bypassing Vrbo. This way he's on Expedia and he's also on Vrbo, two different platforms, even though Expedia owns Vrbo. So now we also listed on Booking.com. The third thing that we did for Dominic was, I said, Dominic, what about dynamic pricing? When you were with your mentor, what tools did he use? He said, Martine, he sent me a video on how to install my dynamic pricing, and I did not know what I was doing. Oh my God, it was a shit show. You should have seen what Dominic's dynamic pricing looked like. It looked absolutely crazy. We had to reinstall his dynamic pricing for him. Dynamic pricing is literally the source life of a short-term rental business. And I'm gonna give you really quick why that is. So every hotel has a revenue management team. Their job is to bring heads in beds. That's the term, to bring money to that hotel. And they do that by using a revenue manager, right? Revenue managers use dynamic pricing. So if you're not using dynamic pricing, obviously you're not making any money. The problem is a lot of Airbnb hosts don't know how to install dynamic pricing. They say they don't like it, it doesn't work, they don't make any money. That's because they don't understand the concept that dynamic pricing, you need to have an understanding of hospitality in order for that to work. So if you're Airbnb host, right, and you've never worked at a hotel and you don't know how a hotel operates, how in the heck are you gonna know how to install your dynamic pricing? You're just gonna wake up one morning and figure it out? No. So we have an in-house revenue manager set up the dynamic pricing for each and every one of my students. Nobody installs their own dynamic pricing. So this is the reason why Dominic did a terrible job installing his dynamic pricing, because his mentor sent him a video and said to him, you need to install this yourself, because his mentor has thousands of students. There is no way he's going to be sitting there installing, Price Labs or Wheelhouse or Beyond for thousands of people. It's impossible, right? So we have an in-house revenue manager who installs dynamic pricing for every single one of my students, including myself. I do not install my own dynamic pricing because I understand that you need to have an in-depth understanding of how it works, and hotels can't operate without it, and neither could you. So once we did those three things for Dominic, once we understood his market, that's the domestic market, once we listed his property on other platforms other than Airbnb, so we listed him on Vrbo, Expedia to attract domestic US travelers, and we also listed him on Booking.com just in case he had a few international travelers coming. And then most importantly, we installed the AI tool, Price Labs, for his dynamic pricing strategy. His business changed. His 5 properties went from making $0 January 2024 to making $213,000 by December. In 12 months, he was able to make $213,000. And that's a 6-figure business right there. In addition to that, he still has his Section 8 properties that he's running for Section 8. So he only has 5 properties in short-term rentals, and he has Section 8, which is really cool because he has a hybrid, right? And so I went out to Charlotte because I wanted to meet with my friend who has a beauty salon there so she could do my hair for me. And I said, while I'm in town, I want to say hi to Dominic and I want to see his property. And I said, hey Dominic, I'm in town for just 2 days, me and my son. Here to visit my girlfriend who has a beauty salon. I would love to see you and I would love to, if possible, see your properties. He said, sure, no problem. So he took me to a food hall in downtown Charlotte. We had lunch. It was so much fun. We caught up, we chatted a little bit. It was my first time meeting him in real life. Also, Dominic has a 9-to-5. In addition to making $230,000 on his Airbnb, the man has a 9-to-5 in the tech business, baby. He's an IT specialist. And so, cybersecurity. And so we chatted a little bit about cybersecurity and so forth. And we spent about an hour together talking about, you know, what he's working on, his properties, his 9-to-5. And then he said, Martine, I am so sorry. I cannot show you my properties because, baby, I'm about to go close on my 19th property. So Dominic was en route to go close on his 19th property in Charlotte. He literally has an empire, okay? And I was able to help him figure out how he fits in the short-term rental space in Charlotte, understand his market, understand how to run a hotel, understand the tools that he needs, the most important tools that he needs. So I'm going to recap the AI tools that we use for him. Number 1, we used AirDNA to do his research in Charlotte. Number 2, Guesty for Host was already installed by his previous mentor. So you need that for property management software. You need that if you have more than 3 properties. Number 3, we listed him on more than one platform, right? In hospitality, that's called channel distribution management. You cannot run a hotel without doing that. Number 4, we installed his dynamic pricing tool. If you have 5 properties and you're not using dynamic pricing, you're going to be in the minus, or you might as well not even be in business, right? He took those properties off the Section 8 market so he could make money. And then when he did that, the mentor that he hired before me did not teach him how to run a hotel. So he was sitting there not making much money. As soon as we installed the proper tools for him based on hospitality strategies, he was able to make $213,000 in 1 year. And so this is how an Airbnb host was able to go from 0 to 213. You see how simple that was? But it's not so simple if you don't understand how hotels operate. So listen, if you love my content, if you love what I just shared with you, I have so many other case studies to share with you. Just subscribe to my YouTube. And if you have an Airbnb property that is struggling, I can help you fix that. Post in the comments what you're struggling with, and I can diagnose for you literally in a matter of minutes what the problem is, because it's usually one of those 4 things. You're not on enough platforms, you don't understand your market, you're not using a PMS to centralize your business, and most importantly, you're not using dynamic pricing. Dynamic pricing will make or break your business, and a lot of Airbnb hosts don't understand the importance of that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. It's gorgeous right here in New York City. It is almost 70 degrees. I'm gonna go out and enjoy my day. I wanted to just share this information with you because it was so cool. I met Dominic back in March and I didn't get a chance to do this video. Since I was taking a walk in the park, I said, let me do this video and let me share this with Airbnb hosts who's struggling. And also, it doesn't matter what market you're in, these strategies work anywhere in the world. This is how hotels operate everywhere in the world. You need a sales and marketing team, you need a revenue manager, and you need to understand your market, right? And if it works for hotels, there's no way it's not gonna work for you, because if you have 1 or 2 properties, and hotels have thousands of rooms, it's gonna work for you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching my video. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.